Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today I want to go over the title update 8.4 patch notes for the Division 2, and really quickly I also do want to say I apologize for being kind of inactive on the channel. I actually got a root canal last week, and let's just say my face is still kind of in pain, but it is what it is. It's getting better by the day, so that's really good. But anyway, I wanted to bring you guys these patch notes all about the gameplay changes, the balancing changes, and pretty much everything that is happening in the game right now. As you guys know, there have been some issues here and there, and most of these patch notes kind of address those issues. Some of them are still going on, but the majority of them are pretty much getting addressed with this latest patch. So if you guys do enjoy the video or find it helpful, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more videos, and let's get right into this. Alright, so the first thing I do want to go over is the new gameplay changes. So the first thing we have is Seasonal Manhunt is changed to allow progress at normal difficulty and above. This will make playing together easier, as all players will gain progress no matter what difficulty was set by the group leader. We also have Seasonal Manhunt is receiving a button in the Manhunt UI that allows players to reset the manhunt to replay it. This allows players to reset the progress specifically and without changing the global difficulty. This also means changing the global difficulty will not reset the Seasonal Manhunt, and players are required to reset it via the Seasonal Manhunt UI. So as you guys know, this was kind of an issue a couple of weeks ago where the manhunt was getting reset every time you change your global difficulty. That's not the issue anymore. If you want to reset your manhunt, there is a specific button in the UI that will allow you to do that. Next up, the Coyote's mask will drop from Coyote with an increased drop chance on higher difficulties. We're also looking into providing the mask for players that have not received them even though they reached season rank level 35. I actually have a friend that this issue has occurred. He is like rank 40 or something like that, but he didn't get the mask yet. So it's an issue. I know some people are getting this as well, where the mask you just didn't get it from the season pass. So that's that. Also, increasing the reward quality for the following open world activities to be in line with other activities. So public executions, the settlement blockade, and propaganda broadcast are all getting increased reward quality. And the last thing is reward caches from conflict matches at maximum level are now of high-end quality. So these are pretty much the gameplay changes. The biggest thing I would say is probably the Seasonal Manhunt and also the kind of issue with the mask. I know this has been kind of frustrating for some people. The next thing I do want to mention are the new balancing changes. So as you guys know, with Warlords of New York, there have been some issues with balancing, especially for NPCs on higher difficulties. So hopefully this patch kind of addresses all those situations. So the first thing we do have is reduced NPC damage output for all difficulties. This applies to all NPCs and activities, and enemies will do less damage to players compared to their current damage output. As you guys know, if you have been playing Heroic or like the Legendaries, sometimes there are scenarios where you just get one-shotted out of nowhere and you're just pretty much dead. So hopefully with the damage reduction, this kind of changes the kind of circumstances where you're literally getting one-shotted sometimes and you don't even know where you're dying from. It doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen really too often on Heroic, but if you're doing Legendaries or if you are sometimes doing Heroic, there are scenarios where you're just getting one-shotted out of nowhere and you're pretty much dead. So once again, I really hope this kind of addresses that issue. The next thing we do have is reduced NPC health and armor for group scaling. Enemy health and armor scaling for 2, 3, and 4 player groups based on veterancy. So again, this was an issue on Heroic and Legendaries. If you were playing with 3 or 4 people, the enemies were really spongy, really tanky. It took a lot of bullets to even break the armor of an enemy. So again, this hopefully addresses that issue. They also say this means red, veteran, elite, and named enemies will have their health and armor reduced compared to their current values. Additionally, we are adjusting health and armor based on activity difficulties. This applies to hard and challenging difficulties, where enemies have lower health and armor compared to their current values. An exception are Heroic and Legendary difficulties enemies, which will have their health and armor increased to compensate for group scaling reduction to their values. So pretty much everything is getting kind of scaled since the group scaling. Enemy health and armor is getting kind of, better. They are increasing the Legendary and Heroic scaling of the NPCs a little bit more with better health and better armor to pretty much, again, compensate the kind of value. So it shouldn't be too much of a difference, but for hard and challenging, the health is going to be a little bit lower and the armor, so it should be a little bit easier for those players. The next thing they do say is we still intend Heroic and Legendary to be very challenging, therefore we are increasing the base difficulty to account for health reduction for co-op scaling. Compared to now, this means Heroic and Legendary will be a bit harder for solo players and 2-player groups. 3-player difficulty will stay roughly the same, and 4-player difficulty will be easier. And the next thing we do have is the Black Tusk specific adjustments, which went live earlier this week. So the first thing is we have the reduced the health of the Warhounds, reduce the damage of the Warhound Sniper, reduce the damage of the 360 spin of Warhound Minigun, increase the intention icon duration of the 360 spin from the Warhound Minigun to give players more time to react, reduce weak point health of Warhound Grenadier's control unit, the support station, so it got a base health reduction for the support station. They also adjusted health scaling of support station with veterancies, increased likelihood of support station being deployed in open, away from cover, and lastly, EMP effects will not damage the support station. So this is pretty much everything for the Black Tusk adjustments as of earlier this week, and also some of the changes to NPCs and group scaling and just pretty much the overall PvP scaling in this patch. The next thing we do have is level 30 World Tier 1 through World Tier 5 content. So again, this is for level 30. So what they say is NPC damage, health, and armor will receive additional reductions. And then moving down, we actually have some PvP changes. So the first thing is all PvP weapon damage is decreased by 20%. So no matter what you're using for PvP, it is getting a 20% damage reduction. And it's kind of fair because if you guys have been in the Dark Zone, you die pretty quickly as of this patch, as of Warlords of New York. You die pretty quickly, everything kind of melts, and you don't really have too much time to kind of react. So that reduction, in my opinion, is kind of nice. But also, you're getting a Rifles PvP reduction of an additional 10%, and also Marksman Rifles are getting an additional 10% reduction as well in PvP. So overall, the Marksman Rifles and the Rifles are getting a 30% reduction for PvP. Moving down for the Cluster Seeker Mine, so what they did was reduce the distance to bull charge from 12 meters to 10 meters, and they also reduced the distance from end to explode from 6 meters to 4 meters, and these changes should make the Cluster Seeker Mine feel a bit more responsive according to them. The last thing we do have are the bug fixes. I'm not really going to go over all of them, there is a lot of them. If you guys want, you guys can pause the video, or as always, I will have a link in the description. You guys can check out to the official patch notes page. But the two things I do want to point out is actually the sticky bomb. So the issue of the sticky bomb not doing damage under certain circumstances have been fixed in this patch, and also the fixed an issue that could have caused the level 35 season reward to not be delivered. So again, that is for the mask. So those issues should be resolved. There's obviously a bit more bug fixes, but those are the ones that kind of caught my eye and that I saw. So that's pretty much everything for this patch. As you guys know, it is pretty well kind of needed, I would say, with the NPCs, because they are really spongy, especially if you are doing harder difficulties and you're playing with a 4-man. It was pretty spongy. Hopefully with this kind of changes with this patch, those things are kind of adjusted and fixed, and also like the one-shots of kind of just randomly dying from like NPCs in PvE. Hopefully all of this kind of, you know, changes everything and kind of fixes it. So we'll see. I guess we'll just have to kind of play, grind, and see how this patch actually is in game. But anyway, that's going to be everything for the video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.